So here's a question for you that I've been thinking about. Why does God give us relationships? And specifically spousal relationships. Just think about it. What is the purpose? A lot of people will say that it's to meet our own needs, which I'm not saying that's not true. That's definitely true. But what is the actual function of it in light of all of creation? Like, why did God do this? And I ask this because I've been interacting with a couple brothers on TikTok and getting into conversations about things. And like, in light of eternity, our especially spousal relationships, marriage, let's say, for example, are designed to be a shadow and a reflection of a deeper thing that's going on. And that deeper thing is our relationship with God, which, for those of us who know Him and are His children, is an eternal relationship. And so the imagery you could use to think about it is a shadow. Like, you have your hand, and then it casts a shadow. And when you look down, you see the shadow. The shadow is not the thing, the actual substance. It's just a shadow. And our relationships, as deep as they are and as satisfying as they can be, pale in comparison to the actual substance, which is our relationship with God. And if anyone really kind of doubts that, I would ask you to consider scripture when it says, like in Ephesians chapter 5, it says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her." So we're being called to model the love that he has for his people, for his church. And one of my favorite books, and I was talking to my brother online about it, in the Bible, is the Song of Songs, also known as the Song of Solomon. And some people struggle with that book because especially if you're single, because they feel like it's just merely about the love that a man has for his woman, and vice versa, that she has for him, which of course it's about that, but it's not just about that. There's a reason it's in the Bible, and it's called the Song of Songs. It's a neglected book. The reason it's there is because anything that can be said about the love that we have for each other, that men and women have for each other, especially in covenant relationships, it's only that way because God is that way towards us. There is a strong parallel between the two. In fact, scripture talks about the marriage supper of the Lamb, that like when we die, those who are his, that it'll be like a wedding, and Christ is the groom and his church is the bride. And that's a pretty deep, interesting, overwhelming thought if you think about it. But there's a passage out of Song of Songs, chapter 3, verses 1 through 4, and I'm just going to read it real quick. The bride says, "On my bed by night I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I will rise now and go about the city, in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. The watchmen found me as they went about in the city. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? Scarcely had I passed them when I found him whom my soul loves. I held him and would not let him go. And then it continues on. Right? And that is, of course, the love that a woman can have for the one whom she loves. But on a deeper level, that can and should be the love that God's people have for him when we seek after him. And, you know, I'm going through a season of singleness right now after a lot of very difficult things that have happened in my life. And one thing that I have been tempted to do, and I'm seeing others feel the same way, is to have a hard heart, in the sense that, fine, I'll just do my own thing, which I'm not saying that's bad. Of course I'm going to do my own thing, but I don't want to lose that longing to be loved and that longing to love, because that is something that God has done in me, and I know many of you can relate. And when you don't have someone else to direct that towards, or have it directed towards you, and even if you did, that heart is really designed to be directed vertically, like towards the Lord, to receive from him, right? And so, like right now, one of the things God is really calling me to do is to not lose that sense of love, right? To direct it towards him and to receive it from him. And like that passage, you see her, I don't want to say it's desperate, but in some sense it's like this deep, passionate longing for the one whom she loves. And that heart is the heart that God's people need to have and to pursue and to desire, that we would love him and that we would seek after him. And then when we find him, that we would not let him go. And so, I don't know, I just wanted to share that. I think that is such a powerful thought. It's so powerful that it can burn away feeling insecurities. It can burn away grievances, internal grievances that you might have. I was talking to a guy and he was saying that he just wants to destroy his heart because he's so longing after companionship, that he's so lonely that he wants to just destroy his own heart. Not, I don't think physically, but he's just so overwhelmed. And to me, that's like looking at a shadow, you know, your hand, looking at the shadow and being like, I just don't have this thing, and allowing that to destroy you. And what that's doing is it's kind of revealing the disparity that you have in your understanding of what your heart should be and the love that you should have. Like, if you have the substance, if you have Christ and you are loved by him, right? In Jeremiah, he says, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness will I draw thee unto myself. That's the love of God. He says, I've loved you from eternity with an everlasting love to his people, and therefore with loving kindness will he draw us unto himself. That is an eternal love. And it will not go away when we leave this earth. So temporary loves that we have, which are not necessarily bad at all, are temporary. And so when we keep our mindset like rightly aligned that will prevent our heart from feeling self-destructive or like being overwhelmed by loneliness. um, and that, and two things, I told him two things can be true at once. You can have deep longing desire to be with someone, but then at the same time be completely and totally satisfied and joyful in the love that you have with the Lord. And having those two things in balance um, allows you to continue to function even when life throws you storms and tribulations and trials, and maybe you lost someone, or you can't be with someone, or maybe you're thrown in jail, and you just, like, anything could happen in this life where you couldn't be with someone that you love, maybe even if it's your spouse, right? So you have to have that balance, and when we lose a sense of that balance, that's when the despair can come. And so I just wanted to kind of clarify that, and there's a lot more could be said about it, but that's what's going on in my life right now, and I hope that can bless someone. All right, thanks.